Madam Chairman, I agree that climate change is a national security issue, and the evidence that this is the case really is overwhelming. In a recent Reuters article, May 30th, entitled "Carbon Credit Scheme Will Draw Organized Crime," according to Interpol, Peter Younger, an environmental crime specialist at Interpol, was quoted as saying, "In the future, if you're running a factory and you desperately need credits to offset your emissions, there will be someone who can make that happen for you. Absolutely, organized crime will be involved." Interpol has partnered with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to address this threat. They have created something called the Climate Change Crime and Corruption Working Group. The group's stated goal is to explore legislative restraints and potential loopholes that may potentially lead to the development of new crime areas with result to the issue of climate change. They have a website for people to go and get more information, and I'll put that into the record, Madam Chairman. But
with that objection, we will do it.
Thank you. As well as the article, if I may, Madam Chairman, from Reuters.
Yes.
Thank you. As of now, 2 investigators with the EPA participate in this working group at Interpol. Interpol is the world's largest international police organization, 187 member countries. It facilitates cross-border police cooperation and supports and assists all organizations, authorities, and services whose mission is to prevent or combat international crime. Interpol and the EPA are aware of the potential threat that cap-and-trade schemes can pose if taken advantage of by these elements. They recognize the dangers that carbon markets can lead to funding streams to international organized crime elements. These criminal elements are a threat to all nations. They traffic in weapons, explosives, fake IDs, passports, drugs, money laundering, and human trafficking. Some are designated as terrorist organizations, including organizations in Colombia, the Russian mafia, and Mexican drug cartels that threaten our border. Carbon markets created by Waxman-Markey could become a boon to these and to fund these organizations. We should all be concerned because these groups are a threat to U.S. national security. Some even operate within our own borders. If we are to endeavor to create a carbon trading scheme here in the United States, we have to know the national security implications of such an approach. We need to know, is Interpol's assessment shared by other members of the intelligence community? How prepared are they to deal with this potential new funding stream for international crime organizations in the carbon markets? And it is for that reason, Madam Chairman, that as ranking member of the subcommittee of oversight of this committee, I sent letters yesterday to the Director of National Intelligence, as well as to the agency heads of the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the Securities Exchange Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. In those letters I ask, given that Congress is considering cap-and-trade legislation that would create carbon credit markets in the United States, whether those agencies agree with Interpol's assessment about the threats posed by international criminal organizations. I also ask what threats to U.S. national security would result if criminal or terrorist elements raised funds through carbon markets, as Interpol has suggested. In the case of the EPA, I asked what are the current findings of Interpol's Climate Change Crime and Corruption Working Group, since the organization is being headed by EPA investigators. To my knowledge, Madam Chairman, our committee has not been briefed on the activities of this working group. I believe that such a briefing should occur as soon as possible. I believe the committee needs to get the full picture from our intelligence and environmental agencies as to the potential threats posed by the manipulation of carbon markets. I have asked that the responses to my letters be provided in the next 2 weeks, and I will share those responses with the members of this committee so that we may get a full picture of this national security issue before we vote on legislation to create carbon markets. Thank you, Madam Chairman.